photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts, and I edit them here for you live using DxO Photolab 9. And just a precursor that, I'm not doing any kind of critiquing or judgment on the photos. These are your photos. I'm simply here to show you the tools using that I use in DxO Photolab 9. Hopefully give you some ideas on how to use DxO and my overall workflow for editing photos. And excuse me, I'm sorry for starting a little late today. I went out on a photo walk this morning, so I had to reschedule. But that said, we'll go ahead and get started. I see John is here, and you can call me. Okay, cool. And Ish and Bumsmith, Bumsem, sorry. And Michael, good to see you guys. Happy Halloween. Paul, good to see you. All right. Let's go to the screen. And hopefully the stream is working today and you guys can see and hear me okay. All right, so we'll start here, one from Murat. And oh, this is so appropriate for Halloween. We have a black cat. So whenever I do animals, I always look for the eyes. And depending on what kind of animal, we go for, like birds, I do talons, beaks, eyes. For cats, definitely on the eyes. And then I look for any kind of lighting on the fur to kind of accentuate that. But this looks like it was taken on a cloudy day. And also I like to apply a basic preset that I created. It's just basically applies optical corrections and denoising. So I'm going to go ahead and just straighten the horizon a little bit. And then also the first thing I like to do is typically I like to do geometry first, right? Straighten horizons, do crops, any kind of perspective distortions that I want to fix. And I think that looks about right there. And then I'm going to just crop out and come into just the cat. Sorry if you can hear my dog in the background. I'm probably getting a delivery. Okay, so I think I'll frame it so that we have a little breathing room on the right side. And put the cat over here on the left. And this is kind of an environmental shot because we do have, other things in the background. I may even tilt it some more at this point. All right, that looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and go into the eyes. And I like to just use control points a little bit around the eyes as well, rather than just on the eyes, just to brighten up that whole area. So I'm going to just do a linear brightening here, like that. Then I'm going to add some clear view to make the eyes a little bit glossy, and then a little microfine contrast, just to give it a little bit more pop. Okay. And I see some highlights here on the fur, and a little bit here, and a little bit on the ears. So I'll create a new control point for the highlights. And I can probably keep these pretty small. Like this. I'm going to tighten up the luminosity masking. And then let's start with the highlights. Maybe just add a little bit more down here. And then we'll go ahead and start pushing the midtones The shadows a tiny bit. Might be too much there. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of warmth, maybe about 500 Kelvin. Okay, let me back it off a bit. Okay, that looks about right. There's a little bit down in here as well. In the pause. Okay. Looks like we misfocused just a tiny bit on the face. Seems to be back focused a bit. All right, now I'm going to let's see what this looks like in black and white. I think that's actually a little better. Yeah, I'm going to go with black and white on this one. And I'm going to try well, let me see if I can do something with the AI. Let's select the cat. And what I'm going to do is brighten the cat up. I'm going to try about 2 stops. And I'll go over here to the global adjustments and just bring it in. Maybe, yeah, that doesn't look so great. Let's go back to the cat. And come back here. What if I, okay, just do a little bit there. And I'm going to try a vignette. What I'm trying to do is just basically separate the subject from the background. So I'm going to select, I'm going to try and add a vignette. So I'm going to invert this mask. And then I'm going to put the sliders back to 0. And that's effectively how you do a vignette. Bring that in. Maybe soften that up a bit, but then just give that vignette a little bit of highlight info so it doesn't look like too strong of a vignette. I'm just trying to just darken the area around the cat. And let's see. I didn't mean to do that. Maybe come in a bit more. Okay. And then we will let's try make this area a little bit darker as well. And tighten up the luma. All right. Now I'm debating if I should try and brush out some of these. Let me do a clone and see what happens. Because these guys are a little bit distracting. Okay, and then one more thing I might do is create a new mask. Select the cat. Oh no, 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 no. Let's let's do let's see if I can just blur the background a bit more. Do a little bit up in here. And we'll add a little bit of blur. And then let's select the cat now, and then do a hole puncher like that. Okay, good. And I'm gonna add some additional contrast with the clear view and some micro contrast. Maybe just brighten this back up a tiny bit. Okay. I think we'll call it there. So let me export that and back to the original folder. And do export. And okay, that was pretty quick. So we'll reset back to the original, and then we'll do a side by side, compare it against. Okay, so whoops, there's my edit there on the left. Yeah, I think that's a big improvement. Okay, because yeah, this is just too many distracting elements, and really you're taking a picture of the cat. So basically, I just zoomed in on the cat and then converted to black and white because for whatever reason, this green just was, all these weeds around here just didn't work for me. So I think this looks better. And if we just do a slider, there's the original, and there's the crop. Let's just come in and see the details. Not bad. Okay, very good. Uh, let's look at the next one, and I'll look for your photo, Bamson. Uh, let's see. I downloaded everything, but maybe I missed something. Okay. Um, wow, this is pretty dark. Let me apply basic preset first. Again, this is optical corrections and noise reduction. And I'm just going to brighten this up just to see what's in here. Okay, yeah, there's a lot going on. Um, so yeah, there's a little bit of horizon correction we need to do. I think that's all. I'll just eyeball it. I'm just using this edge over here on the left side. I think that's good. And it's interesting, this lighting it's not a tungsten or yellow light, so it feels a little bit cool. So let me go back and see. It's almost like you were exposing for the lights. They are really interesting. And it was raining, it looks like So we're getting these really interesting reflections, as speculars, I should say. Okay, let me brighten this again. And the most interesting things, I like the little kid here. I like this lady just kind of sitting here like this by herself. And then, of course, the waitress. This lady looks like she's picking her nose. Gosh, making me hungry looking at this. Uh, hmm. I'm just trying to think about the composition here, what I should focus on, like the entire scene or some individuals in here. I'd say this is the most boring side. Something right in here looks good. So it's either that or this. Hmm. This is a tough one. We go over here to local adjustments. And we're going to selectively just highlight some areas. And I think I want to warm this image up a bit. Maybe not that much. Something around that. And then composition wise, I don't know. I think I'll go with these two. And I'm going to keep some of the framing down there. Maybe come in like that. And let's make a new mask. And I want to highlight down in here as well. Just give that a little bit of a little bit there. How about up here? A little bit there, and maybe a tiny bit there. Let's see. How about over here? No. Okay. I think I can come in even tighter. All right. Okay, I'm going to try and work with the speculars a bit. So let me get another local adjustment, a control point, and let's see. I'm going to back off the Luma a tiny bit. There and there. Let's spread that out. Okay, let's push the highlights. Ooh, maybe not. Let me do it this way. Let's try some micro contrast first. So I kind of want to emphasize the rain. So a little bit in here too. Wonder if I can get in there. Yeah, a little bit there. And there. Let's highlight some of that. So basically, I'm just adding micro contrast to emphasize the speculars of this rain against the glass. I can add a little bit more in there too. All right, just a little bit more warmth maybe. And just look at black and white. Ooh, actually, I like the black and white, but we'll stay with the color. We need some we need some more contrasting color in there. So we have yellow. I don't see any blues that would complement it, but we can add some reds, which are like these flowers back here, and there's some flowers on the table. So I just want to accentuate those. I think that'll do it. Let me see. Yeah, that works. And this white balance is just needs very subtle change, maybe a little bit of shift to magenta. Oh yeah, 30. It's just a tiny shift. All right, let me go back to the local adjustments. What I want to do is it's a little bit too bright in here. What that is out there. I'm going to back this off. Okay, I think that works. So let me export that. Hey, Eric. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, district camera's called the Mid-Atlantic Expo or something. Uh, yeah, it's at the George Mason University. It's right. It's about a block away from District Camera, the event. I might go there tomorrow. It's kind of a big deal. Uh, and they're going to be having discounts, the normal camera manufacturer discounts, but District Camera also is going to like pay all the sales tax on anything you buy on top of whatever you buy, on top of the regular manufacturer discounts. And sometimes they have other stuff. What I tend to buy when I go there is like the winter gloves with the, camera gloves, photographer gloves, I should say. They usually have those like half price or something. I'll usually buy things like that. Um, right now, I just don't need any more gear. Okay, so let's reset this and we will compare it to my edit. Okay, so uh, I just felt like there was too much going on here. So I selected out sort of the more interesting things. I wish I could have cropped into just this one lady, but I would have lost too much detail, I think. Or too many pixels. So I'm gonna bring this down. But yeah, this image over here, the original, I like that you exposed for the highlights because we had plenty of room to pull up the shadows and do what we want with the light. So that was a good call on the exposure. But composition wise, this one section right here to me was the most interesting because if I select just this one lady out like this, that's a little bit more interesting, right? Just a little bit. And then go to a black and white to give it kind of a vintage feel. And then I would just brighten her face a bit like this. So that's another way to go versus what I had before. There's I think this is also an interesting shot right in and of itself. Okay, actually not too much detail lost there. It's pretty good. So yeah, that's a couple ways to look at it because she's looking at the menu, I guess, sitting here by herself. Just this one person. So maybe moving over to the left, or if they're walking around, wait for them to get out of the frame. But it looks like it's somebody sitting down. So you'd have to move over to the left and then frame this one area right in here. All right, let's go to next one. And I got an email from Rodney about this image. Um, the impression I got is he wanted to have AI automatically select the Milky Way. And that right now there's just no way to do that. They do have astrophotography software that specializes, in these kind of photos that would enhance the Milky Way quite a bit. But Photolab is not an astrophotography software, right? It's a sort of a general purpose photo editor. And it doesn't have any kind of AI trained to look for the Milky Way, because if I take the AI tool, it's going to select the whole sky, or I can try and use a luminosity mask. This is probably a better way to go, like a control point, and just crank up the luma so that it selects the Milky Way, a little bit more selectively. So that's the way I'm going to approach this image, is using control points, because AI is just going to select the entire sky. I can get it to select, say, the foreground like this, and I can edit that separately from the Milky Way, but I'm not going to be able to have AI select the Milky Way itself. Okay. Um, so let me apply basic preset, and like I said, I'm going to use a control point and then use the luminosity slider to try and select just the Milky Way. So let me start with this one. Something like that. And then we'll come up a little higher, maybe around here. Maybe a little bit more in here. I can move the control point around to see if I can just sort of randomly select a point, maybe about, no, I'll come back to that one. Maybe about there, a little tighter. Yeah, this is a little bit tougher. So we'll leave that one alone. And I'm going to move up, and I'm just going to kind of keep doing that. Oops, I lost my point here. So yeah, Rodney, you said you're thinking about a radial mask like Lightroom, but could not find it one in DxO. I was thinking more along the lines of a radial mask like Lightroom. Yeah, the control point is about the closest thing we have in DxO. So what I have to do is just use a few extra control points to mimic a radial mask. So you'll notice that my circles down here are a little bigger than the ones up here. So I might come in a bit like this. Maybe I might do separate ones over here. Okay, let's start with the highlights. And then let's push the midtones and the shadows. Okay, this one needs to go on there. Okay. You see if clear view helps at all. Look at a clear view and some micro contrast. Okay, now I'm going to do a control line. We'll make a new mask. And I'm going to come down like this. And let me do another luminosity mask. This time I want to select the blacks primarily. Okay. I'm going to come back. Something like this. Very, very tight mask. And then I'm going to start at the bottom here. Let's try some clear view. Micro contrast. Kind of the same thing. I don't think I can do too much more with the blacks there. Go back to the original mask. Just give it a little more boost. Okay. All right, now let me set the white balance a little bit. I think we can go a little bit cooler. Right there. Let me go back to the Milky Way mask. I'm going to warm this up a bit. Like so. A little bit of light pollution down there. Almost had it, something like that. Okay. It's a little bit over here. Tiny bit there. Okay. Go back over here. Just a global. Hmm, I need the blacks to be a little bit blacker. A bit warmer, maybe some less magenta. All right, I think that works. Now let's see how much we can recover of the landscape here. Whoops, make a new mask, do a control line. Tighten up the luma a bit. Oh, interesting. It's like you took this in your front yard or something. Probably don't need that much. Maybe about that right there. And let's warm that up maybe. Just a tiny bit. Okay, let's see where we're at. All right, this spot here is a little bit too much. So I'm gonna go back to this. All right, I think that's the best I can do. Um, Export that. All right, so yeah, this is a very light polluted area, so it's going to be hard to pull the Milky Way out with all the light pollution. But I think that's a fair job. Not perfect, but pretty fair. But yeah, most of the time, uh, you would take multiple shots and stack them together and average them, and then use astrophotography software to bring out the true color of the Milky Way, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Getting a really good Milky Way shot it's a lot of work. you know, you can do it in few as like 10 or 20 shots and still get a decent image, but the main problem here is that you're in a light polluted area and it's just washing out the Milky Way overall. It's not that you did anything wrong with the exposure or your settings. Everything looks good. It's just the location. And the let me check your white balance. Oh, it doesn't tell me exactly. But the white balance, I fix it to sunny white balance or 5,000 Kelvin. Just to try to minimize, this glow. But gosh, I haven't done a Milky Way shot in a couple of years. All right. But not bad. All right. Let's go to maybe just take a peek at the fine details here, right? At the noise that DxO is able to kind of recover. I think that's pretty fair. Okay. Let's see. Oh wow, this is nice. This could be a sunrise or a sunset. Uh, so what I'm going to do. Yeah, Simon, DxO did a good job on that one, no question, on the Milky Way shot. Okay, let's see. Let me apply basic preset first. It's a nice image. What's throwing me off though is that the fog is like this layer of fog is not carrying down into the foreground. That would have been a little nicer. So let me let me just crop in a bit. Maybe do a square crop. Let's balance this and just center it just a tiny bit more. And then the challenge here is with the water. Just wondering if I can try something else. I think I'll just make it darker. Not like that. Okay, that's better. And then I'm gonna do something here. Maybe a little tighter luma. Okay. Warm that up a bit. Okay. And then let's try. Select the tree. We'll silhouette that. Or can we? Yeah, we'll silhouette the tree a bit. And then let's do another control line right in here. Add some clear view. And just bring this down a bit. Okay. Let's do a new control line just for these blues. Just make that a bit darker. Okay. Go back to this one. I might need to. It's not quite right. think the water I need these to be their own control points. Oops, accidentally deleted. Go back. I want to delete the whole thing, just those. I need to make a new one for the water. Bring this down a bit. Give it some warmth. Let's back off the Uma and chroma a bit. I want it to spread a little more evenly. Okay. I think I'll call it there. So let's export that. Oh, it's a frozen field. Wow, -2 Celsius. That's pretty cold. All right, let's compare. All right, so there's the original image, right? And that's my edit. So yeah, I thought that was water, but it's a frozen. Okay, so this is a frozen field, maybe snow, right? That's okay. That makes sense. Not snow, but just, yeah, it's frozen, but it's the ground. I see it now. Uh, so I kind of exaggerated the sunset, right, into the fog. You might want to back that off a little, and if you wanted to do that, I should probably back that off a little. It's a bit much. This is one of those edits that I would come back to like the next day and look at it again. But looking at it right now, I think I would back off just a little bit of this warmth in here. It's a little bit too strong, but other than that, I think this is a good edit. Because the tree is just a little bit too small in the frame. It's about 1/3 of the overall frame on this right side. Over here, now the tree is, more than half of the frame, right? Or more than half the pixels, I should say. And that's what I wanted to do is I wanted to focus mostly on the tree. And if we do a slider and just compare the fine details, you can see, there's a little bit of softness here, which, is typical of a raw image. But silhouetting the tree, using the control point or the AI to select the tree, I silhouetted the tree, just made it a little bit more crispy by doing that alone. And then, of course, the optical corrections and everything else kind of do the rest. But most of the heavy lifting in the detail in that tree, it's just silhouetting it rather than, this is very, very soft here. It's, relatively low contrast. But there you have it. Okay. Let's see. We have one here from Gordon. Another sunset or sunrise. So let me apply basic preset. And I'm just going to crank up the exposure and see what we have here. So this is the sunrise. Okay. Ooh, this could be a really good. I like this foreground over here, but there's not enough of it. So we need to focus. Gosh, this looks really familiar. This scene. All right, let's try. 16 by 7. And then I'm going to do my best to select this area. And this, let's tighten up the luma a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to do a very similar thing over here. Let's see if we can just bring out a little bit more of the sun. Let's bring this in. Just in a very selective way. Back up the luma a little bit. Okay, and some clear view. Micro contrast. Okay. And maybe do the same thing on this side. This a little bit tighter. Give it a little warmth. And let's do a control line up there. See if we can temper. I'm going to bring out some of the haziness, not the haziness, I'm sorry, but need some no, that's not looking right. But I think that's it. So let me export that. Okay, and then we'll compare. All right. Yeah, I think all this needed was just a, oh, there's a little bit of, I could have highlighted this a little bit down in here, but basically it just needed to be cropped wide. That's kind of how I like these kind of scenes. And that's it. And then just bring out a little bit more of the detail in the city or the, the busyness down here I kind of like. So, oh, no chat after 3 photos anymore. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. I need to take about a 1-minute break here. So just give me 1 minute and I'll be right back. I'll leave that up. I'll be right back.
Die most recent orders are two tune-up units that are up to deliver to Pixel's today. We also have several others that will be yesterday in Wednesday, including the lightweight jacket, brake sinks, parking, another pair of shoes, and the rubber helmets.
All right, I'm back. So sorry about that. Oh, thank you, Simon. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Uh, I don't have the chat window up, so I'll just have to read it off the screen here. Wow, really good ribeye. God, I'm so hungry now. But yeah, if you have any questions, uh, let me know. Maybe using Google Gemini, you can drop that image directly into it. Okay, Gemini is the Google AI, right? I'm not sure which image you're referring to. And okay, well, there's no question, so we'll just keep going with the editing. See what we got. But yeah, thank you, Simon. I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked the edit. That yeah, that came out pretty good, and I was able to do that pretty quickly too. But okay, let's see. We have one here from Jacob, and let me apply basic preset. Wow, a lot of sunrise, sunset type photos today, it looks like. Let me just open this up a bit and see what's in here. So we need to deal with this, right? The sun coming through this flag. I like these power lines. And this one, okay, Bombsome, I'm sorry you have to go, but I'll look at your edit towards the end of the stream. We'll compare. Okay, so this tower here, I like the colors here. There's a little reflection here and here. Okay. So I don't know if I need to bring the colors in here back in, but let me just see what happens if yeah, I don't think I need to do that. I'm going to focus here on the left side and silhouette all the colors out, I think. So let me go to just a global and just pull in the blacks a little bit. I'll add just a global clear view and at micro contrast, we'll just use the auto setting. And I'm going to really be selective again. So we'll use a little bit tighter luma, just in the places that it kind of makes sense. A little bit here, a little bit more here. Okay. Let's try that. So I'm going to start with the highlights, pushing the midtones. There's not much happening there. Let's back off the Luma. Okay. And then we'll add some warmth. And this needs to be a little smaller. This one. There we go. Now let me put the Luma back up. Okay, get some warmth back in. All right. This spot's something's off. Come back here. Okay. And back to the global. Let's pull this in a bit. I'm going to make a new mask for the right side here. Get it tighter on the Luma. Maybe a little looser. Yeah. Just silhouette that down. Maybe see if there's anything in there. No, I don't need anything on that right side. So I'm just gonna pull it in. Go back to this mask. We'll add one more here. Okay. We're getting there. Let's see. Okay, let me do a control line. Select the sky. Just give this a little bit more bite. Cool it off a tiny bit. Okay, composition wise, I like the composition. I don't think I need to do really much. Maybe just a slight pull here. And push up this way. Now I want to make it a little bit more gritty. So let me go back here and see if I can crank up the micro contrast. Maybe even play with the tone curve. Let me think. There, a little bit of pull. Okay, I'm going to call it there. Flag looks too yellow, maybe a little bit. A little bit too yellow here, true. But I'll leave it. I kind of like that little splash of color, strong color right there. Maybe highlight the red a little bit. Let's see. Let's push the red, and then yeah, we'll pull the yellow back a little bit. It's more orange, but like that. All right, that's good. Good suggestion there. Okay. We'll wait for that to. Okay, let's compare. All right, so basically I just wanted to make it a little grittier. Just yeah, that's basically it. I just made it grittier, basically, and then brought in some of the highlights. And then I just wanted to watch this corner down here so that this line lines up to that corner exactly where it's just a little bit lower over here. So that's the only reason I cropped at all. I'm always very conscious of my corners. This one only had one corner I had to kind of deal with, but yeah, I think that looks better. Okay. Um, let's see, we have on here from Wrinkled something. It's an old car. So we can do a basic preset. And I'm going to highlight the blue and red. Yeah, I think that'll work. So let's again kind of go dark. And then I'll add some highlights back in with the control point. So maybe right in here and here. This one needs to be like so. Maybe a spot there. Spot. Spot there. Let's add some contrast. This one, let's see. It's a little bit smaller. And we'll add some warmth. Kind of like, yeah, a little bit there. Oh, too strong. All right, let's add just a couple more spots here and there. Like that. Right in here. Micro contrast. A little bit there. Okay. And then let's see if I can temper the highlights just a bit back here. So I need a new mask and a control line. I wonder if I can get that completely black. Okay. Come back up. I don't know. This needs to be smoother. Something like that. All right, let's add a little bit of dappled light down in here. I'm just going to just randomly select a couple of spots. And we'll adjust the sizes here randomly. Brighten that up, pull it back. Get some clear view. And some warmth. All right, that's about 90%. Maybe just a little bit more detail in this hood, or trunk, I should say. A little bit tighter on the luma. And a little bit of warmth. Maybe the luma can be looser. No. A little bit tighter. It's not quite as much brightness. Okay. Some, yeah, it definitely needs some micro contrast. Let me back this off some more. Okay. One thing I missed, maybe this door. We'll use the same one we used for the trunk. No, it's not going to do it. We can use this one. All right, I think that's good. Let's export that. Oh, I didn't push. Let me do one more thing. Sorry. This mask here. Oops. I want this to be just a bit warmer. Just a slight pullback. Maybe one there. Okay. Now I'm done. Okay. All right. So yeah, I think that came out pretty good. It's a really nice shot. It's kind of cool when you're going through the woods and you spot an old car just rusting away. It's pretty cool. But really, all I wanted to do was just highlight some of the areas, make it look more like it's in dappled lighting rather than just being kind of completely in the shade. Because I did see some dappled light here and there, so I just wanted to kind of extend that out, to different parts of the car and onto the ground, uh, and make it a little darker. I think one thing I could do actually that would probably look good is on a global is just cool this off a bit. Something like that. Uh, but yeah, I think this came out pretty good. Again, this is a rough edit. I would come back again and work on this some more. Probably, yeah, it needs a little bit of cooler light in some spots. But overall, that's the overall look I'm going for. So we went this is the edit, that's the original. Okay. Very nice. Let's go to the next one. Hmm. Apply basic preset. And wow, I love all these little birds, seagulls down here. A little bit of a haze. What is that thing? Oh, that's a seagull. Okay. Um, okay, Paul, I'll take a look at your edits. Trying to think, the light is coming almost straight down. So let me just pull this down. And Try 5x4. Gosh, we almost need a square crop. This. And we'll go a little bit cooler. Add a control line. Let's try some clear view. Just trying to make it look more moonlit, I guess. It's kind of weird with a seagull flying, though. But we'll just start light painting a bit and tighten up the luma. Maybe add a little bit to the seagull. Okay. I think I did it opposite. Let me go back to my white balance. Let's come in. Sorry, I'm still thinking about the overall exposure. I don't think I can make it work. Hmm. Okay. What's going on here? Nothing. This mask. Just cool that off. Okay, and then I don't know if I'm going to have enough precision to see if I can get these masks. I just want the masks to stand out more. Okay. Let's see. It's a little bit too much green in here. So what I'm going to do is just take out some of the green. That might be it. Uh, yep. I think we'll go with that. Let's compare. Ooh, I don't know. It's almost too. It's almost too much contrast over here. The boat is just standing out a little bit too much. So let me fix something. Go back to my local adjustments. I'm gonna back this one off just a bit. And then this mask, just back that off a bit. Okay. It's very subtle, but that's a little bit more like looks a little more right. Because before it looked like it was just a bit too much boat. But yeah, a lot of square crops today I've noticed that I'm doing. I don't know why. Still a bit too much green in the white balance overall, but uh I think that's a pretty clean edit. It looks a little bit more like I think more realistic. I don't know. Man, this was a hard one. But okay, very good. Let's see, we have one here from Larry. Oh, nice. That's the problem with some owls. I saw an owl today. It was flying, so I didn't get a shot of it. I didn't have like a long lens with me. Uh, let's go ahead and apply a basic preset. And let's fix the eyes, beaks, and talons. So in this case, just going to be the eyes and a little bit on the beak. Let's tighten up the chroma just a bit. There. Let me use the same one on the beak. Okay. That looks pretty good. Then just a couple more highlights. A little bit on the ears. And maybe on the shoulder. Whoops. Let's just give a little push of brightness. Oh, I should have cropped it first. We'll do another square crop. And let's bring out some detail on the feathers. With, I think micro contrast will do it. Like that. And then maybe temper the highlights just a little bit. Back in here and here. Okay, maybe shift the white balance a bit. Just a little bit right there. And then we'll temper this area a bit. Go back to the owl and add just a little bit of brightness. A little more vibrancy. Some contrast. Okay. Yeah, let's export that. And when that's done, so yeah, I was just basically brightening up the eyes and the bird itself and adding a little bit of fine detail. Probably easier to see it this way. But there's the original. And there's the edit. It's a little bit of softness here. I think it's just a depth of field issue because the focus is right on the eyes, no problem. But then it gets a little bit blurry down here. I think that came up, that's about all you need to do with this image, I think. And just a little bit of a crop so the bird fills the frame more. A cool shot. It's always cool to get an owl. All right, let's see. One here from Shikabe. And I think I'm going to do a basic preset. And let's do it's another fairly straightforward one. I'm going to go into the eye and just add some clear view and micro contrast. And I'm going to square crop it again. I think that's fine. And then we'll just make it a little bit gritty. So let me try the AI mask. Here, okay. And we'll add some micro contrast. We'll blacks in a bit more. And then let's add a vignette. Move up there. So I'll invert it, set the sliders to 0, and just pull the exposure. Let's try the blacks. Go back to the eye. It's a little more light. Okay, I'm going to do the loop tool. I haven't used the loop tool this whole session, but there's just a little bit of blur. Might be motion blur. What's your shutter? Yeah, it could be a little bit of motion blur. So let me go to unsharp mask and just increase the radius a bit. Okay. All right, let's export that. And we'll do a comparison. I'll probably push the oranges a little bit. Like these guys, this color. Okay, now I'm done. Okay, pretty straightforward edit. I basically just cropped in tighter and added a bunch of contrast. So let's do a slider on this because this image has some motion blur in it, it looks like. So I just increased the pixel or the size of the unsharp mask, try to offset that a little bit. I think that came out pretty good because this is a little bit flat, low contrast, right? So versus, something a little bit more punchy. Okay, let's go to the next one. And we have a Buddha temple or Buddha thing here. This needs, I think, a perspective correction. So I'm going to try the auto and see if that just fixes it. Yeah, that helps a little bit. I'm just going to back it off. So it looked a little unnatural with a full correction. So I'm just going to back it off a little. And then let's check our centering. It's a little bit off center, so we'll go here. Gosh, I don't like this really strong highlight on this chair. Maybe a vertical. Yeah, we're a little bit off. That's okay. Let's come in right there. And this chair is bothering me. It's kind of clipped, so I don't know if I can temper that. Yeah, that's better. It's a little bit too much. Okay. Needs to be more. The color back to about what it was. Just using white balance. Sometimes I use white balance to fix colors, but I think that works. Okay. And let's make a new mask for the Buddha itself. Maybe an AI mask. Let's try that. And that. Make Buddha a little brighter. Maybe some clear view. Push the speculars a bit. Micro contrast. And what are these? Are these just, yeah, that's just a bell. These are lights. Oops, let me turn off my mask. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little more light here and there. So tighten up the luma. Some clear view and micro contrast. Just give this a little more brightness. And here too. Okay. Let's just back off the overall. All right, I think that works. Just a slight push on the vibrancy. Let's pull back some of the gold. There's some greens in here. So let me see if I can get greens to stand out more. Okay. The perspective is just off slightly. Either the room is that way or you're standing a little bit too far to the right. Because there's just a lot more space here than there is over here. And I'm just making the assumption that these are hanging parallel to the Buddha. All right, we need one more spot of light. You're right there. Okay, we'll call it there. Okay, let's compare. So the original of this is a wide shot, and I didn't feel like, I don't know what these things are, but I didn't think they added to the image. Maybe they do. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the context of what all these things are, but I think a vertical works a little better. And then just a minor perspective correction, but it's really hard when you're doing basically an architectural type photo like this. You got to watch the parallax errors here, right? Like I believe that these should be evenly spaced over the top of the Buddha, but you can see that these are a little bit to the left too much relative to where Buddha's sitting. And that may be the case, but I assume that these are hanging directly over, because you see the gap here versus the gap here, and then the gap here versus the gap over here. Lots of little things into perspective that would have tidied this image up quite a bit, I think. And you'll see me, when I do architectural photography, you'll see me just move like a few inches in one direction and a few inches in the other. I tend to move around until I can line up everything the best I can, so that when I come back to editing, everything has a little bit more symmetry to it. Okay, let's do the next one. And this one's from John. Okay, so we have a little bit of a depth of field. Wow, 17 1.4. Oh, that's the pro lens. Okay. So this is intentional to make this background a little bit blurry. So let's apply basic preset. Let's do perspective correction. We'll back this off a little bit. It needs a little bit of a tilt. Okay, and then we need to crop this. Let's try 5 by 4. Maybe a vertical. Okay, that feels about right. Uh, the background is way too bright. So let's try and bring that down. Question is, do we exaggerate the thinking? No, we can't do it that way. We'll leave it. Maybe a black and white though. Let's see. Yeah, I kind of like that, but I think John likes color, so I'm going to leave it color. But I really like the black and white. Now that looks really vintage, but we'll try and do it in color. We'll try and do a vintage color. So we'll just warm this up way too much. And then we'll fade it just a bit. Like so. Go back and warm it up again. Okay. And then let's see, maybe some micro contrast. And a little bit of less contrast this way, just to really lean into that vintage look. You see, this white balance needs a little less green, I think. Oh yeah, and it just about there. I'm going to add new mask here on this building. I need this to be okay. That looks about right. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, let's add some vignette. So invert the control point, set the sliders to 0. Just add some vignette. That's too much. See if I can temper this highlight up here a bit. Maybe not. Maybe it's fine the way it is. Okay. Lift this vignette. Just be a little tighter, maybe. Okay, and then globally, maybe this contrast a little bit less there. Okay. I don't really need to export this one because we're not trying to get fine details and stuff. So we'll just do a comparison to the original this way. So the challenge here was that normally you have the building in focus, but the building is, or, this house is out of focus, as you can see. So, if you're doing that intentionally, what are you focusing on? And all I have is the road and the this sort of brick fence here, or stone fence. So this, going kind of a vintage look to it, this gives me the feel of like when you used to have to manually focus, and sometimes you would miss focus. But I think this works for this image because of how blurry it is back in here. So just a creative choice there. All right. And then here's one from Jeff. So let's apply basic preset and didn't quite fix everything. So we may have to just give it a little more. Oh, no, that's about right. Okay, it did fix it. And then this is about the colors. So let's just try go with vibrant to start. And then let's crank up the colors a bit. And let's bring the sky in. Actually, I could probably bring this all the way down and do some clear view, a light pull on the highlights, midtones, some micro contrast. And then globally, a little bit of a push in shadows. Now, might have to do it locally again. Okay, and then let's warm it up. A little bit of work on the glass here. Some clear view, micro contrast. All right, and then just a slight crop, maybe a 16:9. Move this up and come in slightly. On that side and this side. Okay. I feel like it's still crooked a bit. Right about there. And we need just a little bit, tone down the yellows a little bit. Let's spread this into the reds a little bit. Okay. Let's export that one. Okay, Dan, I'll look. Let me open up. Let me finish this last one, then we'll try and find anything that was left over. Let me reset this. All right, so there's the before and after. Yeah, really, this image is all about the colors, right? So, I just cranked up the vibrancy and then perspective correction and a crop. Uh, the only other thing is I warmed up the image, but then the yellows were too strong, so I had to back off the yellow a little bit directly in the saturation or the color wheel. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Just a clean edit, perspective correction, and crop. All right, let's see if I can find anything I'm missing here. So, wow. Okay, so these are other people's edits. Um, so there's three more images here. I'll try and do these three. Let's look at the edits. Let me just download these real quick. All right, download. Okay, so one, two, three. All right, good. Okay, so this is Simon's edit, I think, of his image because this is a JPEG. And if we compare that to mine, oh, that's here's my edit, right? And then this was their edit. So you stayed pretty much true to the original composition and lighting and colors. Just it's just much crisper now. You did a good job with the contrast, and you're showing a little more detail in the tree itself, with the snow, patches of snow on it. So just a different way to go about it. I went for a little bit higher contrast on mine, and you went more like what you could see with your eye, right? Whereas mine is a little bit more surreal. My edit. This looks very surreal. Uh, I think yours is a little more realistic. So yeah, it looks good though. And then, oh, this is one from Zachary. This I need the raw image. I can edit a JPEG, but uh, we'll just get this one into so four. That'll be a quick edit too. But I can edit the JPEG. It's okay. Oops. All right. So, wow, this is a very similar edit to mine, other than the crop. You cropped in the entire width, and on my edit, I just cropped in over here. And then I also warmed up my image. So if we look at what I did, oh, that's not what I did. That's the original. Where did my edit go? Oh, this was my edit, right? With a couple of changes, but I don't know if I can go back to. Let me try and go back. Yeah, this is what I originally had. Just a much tighter crop, right? And warming of the interior, because normally interior lights are warm, not this cool, especially in a restaurant. They don't normally use cool lights. They normally use warmer lights. So that's why I went in that direction. But maybe they were very cold lights in there. Like this, these are very cold, temperature wise, right? So that's kind of the main difference. And then of course, where I cropped in on just this one lady, I thought was a nice shot too. And then let's see. And then this is Paul's edit. Okay, so you kept the entire frame because I cropped out this foreground. But yeah, this is nice. You brought out the blue and the boat base here. Good detail. And yeah, this is a little bit different frame, right? Because the bird wings are not the same, if I recall. In mine, the bird wings were flapped down a little bit more. Yeah, this one. Yeah, so I think I saw you mention that this was a high res shot originally. That's not my edit, is it? No, that's not my edit. My edit was this one. So there's my edit, square crop and darker. This is one of the few times, oops. This is one of the few times, Paul, that your edit and my edit are very different. If I remember in the past, a lot of times your edits were very close to mine. You know, we were doing a lot of the same things. But this time my edit's very, very different, much darker. Okay. Let me just double check. All right, good. So let's go to the new ones here. There's one. Where's the first new one? Here's the first new one. Okay, I can do something with this. I'm gonna just make it a little bit more moody. We need a little bit of a crop or tilt. I'm just using this line right here. And I'm going to darken this quite a bit. Just to make it a little more moody. And I think crop what I might do, whoops, 5x4. And do a vertical. Maybe even right there. Okay. So a little bit more tilt. And I'm going to just pull in some of the shadows a little bit more. Okay, and then white balance. I should go a little bit warmer. And let's make a new mask. Let's back off the Luma and the chroma just a bit. Right about there. Uh, hmm, it's not right. Something's not right there. Do a new mask. I'm not going to get this to work. Not the way I was thinking. because that little flame is not generating much light on its own. So that's the problem I'm having. Okay, I think that's kind of the direction I want to go in general. It's a little bit warmer, maybe. And let's make it a little bit. Okay, I'm going to call it there. Uh, this one again, I don't need to export because there's not a fine detail, so to speak, or noise for that matter, really. No, I'm going to export it anyway. All right, so here's the original on the right. I think this is a lot more intimate shot, right? I wish the flame was brighter, but it's not very bright. And when I tried to brighten it, it just didn't look right because it's not creating any glow around the fire. This is something I could take into Photoshop and mess with a lot, but just doing a regular edit on this, I feel like this is a lot more intimate, right? Versus this is just the guy in working, whereas this looks like it's just a little more focused, I think, and a more intimate shot. Okay, let's see. Got this one. So what is this? A graveyard? I don't understand. I was at a graveyard this morning on my photo walk. Uh, this is an interesting shot, though. So I've never seen anything like this before. I like this. This is really interesting. Uh, what to do with it though? It's a really interesting shot. At least for me. I don't know. I find this shot really, really interesting. Let me apply basic preset first. And then we can kind of do the typical bring the highlights in. Let me see what I can do with the grass. Maybe just pull the grass in a bit. Like that. But composition wise, this is maybe a little softer in front. I'm just thinking in terms of a crop. I don't want to lose this ocean. I don't like this part right here. I like this center mass right in here. Let me try. I don't want to crop in too much, but Let me just try and center Bobby. Just a little bit tighter there. Okay. Let's go back to this control line. Maybe just temper this. Select the cross here. And we'll just light paint just a tiny bit some of the grass. A little tighter mask. Like that. A bit up here. Mm, no, not that. That needs an opposite. Okay. And oh, this is a JPEG. That's why I was like, why am I getting a little bit of softness when I don't want it? It's a JPEG, so I'm losing some color information. I need this here. All right, I think that's all I can do, but I think the picture is interesting as it is. It's already a JPEG, so I don't need to export, but basically I just wanted to add a little bit more highlight and shadow in this area. And bring in the sky. But yeah, this is an interesting picture. I like it just the way it is. But yeah, just making it a little darker in the foreground, I think makes a difference. Okay. And then one more portrait here. It's a little bit crooked. Let's do a basic preset. Need to tilt it a bit. And then let's do a 5x4, but vertical. And center it. We're going to lose part of her leg, but that's okay. Look, it's still crooked. I mean, I think she's leaning to her left. That's what it is. She's leaning to her left. And or this thing is leaning to the right. Wow, now it's almost hard to I don't think we need the top of her head. Let's come in. Let's come in really tight like that. And then I'm going to lean into a black and white this time. Oops, wrong one. This one. Pull back the contrast. And we just need a little more light on her face and we'll be done. Let's see. Not like that. And then let's bring out this area here, maybe with some clear view. Not that much. Okay. Let me check the color again. Yeah, it's just mostly browns in this image, so it's already pretty monochromatic. So we'll just lean into that. But I might be able to do a little bit with the color mixer. Like that. Go back to her face. Yeah, face just needs tapping the light. All right. Um, so again, I just wanted to make the shot a little more intimate by coming in really tight. And then going black and white, it's okay. There's virtually no colors here. It's just mostly these browns, right? Her skin tones, her tan shirt, brown, brown, all brown. There's a tiny bit of blue here, but that's it. So I think going monochromatic is fine. And yeah, that's what I would do with this edit. Then I just made it a little bit lower contrast and softer. Uh, really for two reasons, because it's a woman, right? I don't like to make really high contrast images on women. And it looks a little more vintage when it's this low contrast, right? I think. So that's the way I would go with this edit. Just a little tighter shot. And you don't always need the top of their head in the frame. You can cut off a little bit here. You can cut off legs and shoulders if you need to. So I think this works. But now you can see the expression on her face a little bit better too, now that we're cropped in a little tighter. Okay. I think that was the last one. So we're all set. Oh, wow. That's a tough one today, or a long one, I should say. And I was really tired before I got online because I've been up since like 4 this morning, and now it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been up 12 hours straight. Uh, I walked a few miles this morning on the photo walk, and then, drove, ran some errands, etc. But those were great, guys. Lots of great. They're all great images. I think my favorite really was this one here. This was the most interesting picture to me today. I Yeah, that was a really interesting picture. So, who sent that in? John? John, that was really interesting. I thought this was, this was a good edit too. Um, it's a pretty dramatic change, but they were all really good. Really, really, really a lot of nice images as I get every week. So, all right, gang. Uh, we'll call it there. Thanks for watch. I didn't talk too much today. I mean, I talked a little, but not like I usually do, where I walk through every step of my thought process. It's because I'm just tired today. I'm sorry about that. But I do appreciate you joining me and sending your images in. I hope you like my edits. If so, I have my affiliate links down below. If you're new to DxO, you can get a 15% discount. Or if you want to get DxO, uh, I have all that stuff down there below. Or you can be a member to support the streams. It's 99 cents a month, and I do these streams like 3 times a week. So every little bit helps. But most of all, sending your images in for me to edit is good practice for me. Hopefully, there's some things you picked up, a few tips along the way, and some ideas on how to edit your own photos. Thanks again for joining me today. God willing, I'll be back on Sunday. So thanks again for being here. Eat healthy, exercise, and I hope to see you again soon.